day, not working today. Unfortunately, I've got one of my guys tested positive for COVID, so I sent everybody out for testing. I don't really want to infect everybody. They've been wearing masks, they've been staying apart from each other, but you know, they do ride together in the same truck. That's probably a mistake. I guess I'm going to have to figure out a better way. Anyway, today's topic is mulch. I wanted to talk about the natural forest floor. What you've got here is what you should see in every garden. It should be all the natural organic stuff. I know you're going to say, but that's not tidy. You're right, it's not tidy, but that's what your trees and plants need. I talk to people a lot about organic compost and mulch. Today I want to talk about what the difference between compost and mulch is. This is mulch. Anything organic that sits on top of the soil, whether it be wood or leaves or grass clippings or wood chips or you name it, that's what builds up the natural decomposition of material that turns the soil into topsoil. It benefits the plants because it minimizes evaporation. But more importantly, what it does is it creates a natural ecosystem of decay. The fungus, the good fungus gets down into the soil, the mycorrhizae that attaches itself to the root tips that allow the trees to do well. And that's something that people don't talk about very much. So I like to tell a story to my clients about a tale of 2 yards, and it's a true story. We've got 2 yards side by side. Each yard has the exact same hedge. Yard A has a pittosporum hedge. Yard B has the same pittosporum. It's the large variety, the pittosporum eugenoides, and they get huge. And they're a great screen. The difference between the two is yard A, that hedge doesn't do so well. It's okay, but it's not doing really well. Yard B, that one does great. The difference between the two is the way the gardeners treat it. On yard A, the gardeners come in with their blowers and their rake and they keep the yard really tidy. Yard B, they blow all the excess stuff underneath the plants. Maybe they think they're hiding it, but what they don't realize is what a benefit it is to have natural mulch underneath the plants. Now, yard A spends a lot more money on irrigation. The water that they have to use is considerably more because there is no protection. Everything is drying out rapidly. The soil hyper dries out. But on yard B, because they have a lot of mulch around, they don't need as much water and everything looks better. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is we need to change the way we think about our landscapes. We have to change the whole concept of what makes for a proper landscape. What is right in our environment? How do we build good soil? That's key to everything. Everyone always goes to, well, do I need to fertilize? Do I need to spray? Do I need to this? You need to create better soil. And the only way to create better soil is through mulch. Mulch sits on top. Now, I said I would tell you the difference between mulch and compost. Compost is the same as mulch, except it's broken down and it's ready to be incorporated into the soil. So you mix compost in, mulch sits on top. Because it sits on top, it can be raw, it can be fresh, it can be almost anything. You know, there are some exceptions, but I won't go into that right now. The exceptions meaning infected plants or certain types of plants that have, you know, say an allopathic reaction to minimizing the development of plant growth. And there's certain plants that do that. Eucalyptus has the problem. Black walnut has a problem. There's a whole host of plants that you shouldn't use, but very small in the numbers. Sometimes you may not want to put down pine needles because, you know, that's more acidic. So if you have plants that need more of an alkaline soil, you know, you think about how you develop it. But at the end of the day, mulch is so critically important. You know, I really enjoy going out in the woods when it's raining because all these things happen. Those are armillaria mushrooms. Here's some old ones right here. I think I kicked them over. But at this time of year, you find all kinds of things erupt. And they don't last very long. They might only last a few days, and then they dissolve or they go away. So if you go out in the woods, you can make all kinds of little discoveries. This old black oak right here is kind of interesting. It's been standing there dead for a long time. It's still covered with moss. Look at how beautiful that is. It's almost like, if you look at it from underneath and you look up this way, it almost looks like a little forest. Isn't that beautiful? I love the moss that grows on the trees. I was noticing that this tree is also being targeted by woodpeckers. We have a lot of woodpeckers around here. And if you look up here, you can see where they've been hammering away on this thing. I'm surprised there's not acorns shoved in every one of those holes. They must be just looking for bugs, but it still feels pretty solid. So I find that really remarkable. So next summer I have hopes of building a couple of tiny house cabins. Not big, like 10 by 12. I want one right here and one down here. So they're going to be above each other. One by one, these trees are over here, they're all dying. So that means the view out to the valley is going to improve significantly. I'm going to have to take down a bunch of those trees. I'll probably take out some of the tan oaks and see if I can make some flooring out of it. There's a lot of dead ones. I'm not going to take out anything that's still healthy and living, but unfortunately we've got the Phytophthora ramorum, the sudden oak death. There's an example there. There's another one over there. If you look out in the forest, you can see all kinds of dead trees. I talk about that at great length, but I think it'd be really cool to have a little temporary rental, maybe for rock climbers and guests, little doghouse getaway if I need to go have some privacy. I always thought that'd be kind of fun. I do enjoy building, and because I have a sawmill, lumber is free. Well, my son Kalen made a discovery the other day hiking on one of the trails up here, not on my property, but he was going through an area of tan oaks, and he found a tree that was just loaded with oyster mushrooms. So I didn't realize that the oyster mushrooms, which by the way are one of my favorite mushrooms, I didn't realize that they grew on tan oaks. I have so many dead and dying tan oaks that I think I need to pay attention. Now the oyster mushrooms, if you find them, are easily identifiable. You know, I have a lot of my friends, they say, oh, I would never risk eating a mushroom because some of them are poisonous. And that's true. But as soon as you start learning how to identify them, some of these mushrooms are so easily recognizable that you can't mistake them for a toxic mushroom. And some of these mushrooms that grow on trees, you know, the saprophytic mushrooms, they are very, very unique and very, very easy to identify. Look at this, we had a tree fall down here this last summer. That's a tan oak. Yep, there's another one that's dead. Oh dear. Oh, I can see that tree over there has mushrooms growing all the way up. It's still alive, but I guess that's not long for this earth. It's going to probably fall apart. Half of it fell off. That's this part. So that was a double trunk tree over there. I can see lots of mushrooms on it. I don't know what type they are, turkey tails or something. But all of this came from that part that split off. It's kind of interesting because the leaves are still on this, and I know this has been down for at least 6 months. You might ask, why have the leaves not fallen off? Well, that's interesting. This tree goes through a natural shedding of the trees, but of the leaves, but it's an evergreen tree. There's one of the leaves right down there. That's what they're supposed to look like. It's an evergreen tree, but it's also an ever shedding tree. So as the older leaves go through the process of natural abscission, that's where the leaf petiole releases, then they fall off. However, in many cases, when you have a tree that has a branch break on it, it's interesting. If you see a tree that has one branch with all these dead leaves on it and the rest of the tree is dormant, oftentimes you can recognize that one dead section as a piece that is broken up in the tree or cracked or not attached to the tree, because once you break it off, then the leaves just sort of dry up and they stay adhered to the tree really well. I don't know if you can see that over there. There's a black oak that snapped off, another small one underneath it. That's fresh. That's from the windstorm we just had this last week. I don't know where, I guess it's way down the hill there. That wind came through. I'm surprised we don't have trees down everywhere on the property. But in all honesty, I have not gone searching, looking for dead trees or fallen trees. Dead ones are easy to find. It's raining pretty good. It was snowing here a little while ago. This is a cool tree right here, this big black oak. This thing has never been trimmed. It's a big, wide spreading tree. And in the wind, that thing just rocks and rolls. But amazingly, it's never split any branches. This is a cool tree right here. This is a canyon live oak. And it's a leaner. It's been leaning its entire life. I've got a bunch of ropes up there because my son, my youngest son, used to like to climb up this tree and hang out up there, and I figured I better get some ropes for him to hang on to. You know, not a death fall, but gotta learn. I know that when I was a kid, I was always up in the trees.